One of the things to consider when you have a 4x4 is to put on a front replacement bumper. Now, what I want to do in this episode is I want to take you step by step through the process. The first thing is, how do you select the bumper? So you've got different types. In this case, with Wildog, you've got 3 types. And then what I also want to show you is how to install it correctly. And what we're also going to do is we're going to show you the effect of putting all these items on your vehicle. So it's actually a very good situation which we have here. The suspension has been for a while. It had some weight on the front. So now we can actually measure what's the height of your vehicle without anything on the front. And then what we're going to do later is measure how much it has dropped by adding all of these accessories on the front of your vehicle. And what's quite nice is everything is off. There's no winch on, there's not even a dash plate on, so it's really without any weight on the front of your vehicle.
So for the bumpers, you've got 3 different types. You've got the Hunter, you've got the Savage, you've got a K9, and then you've got the K9 with a notch and without a notch. So I'm just going to quickly show you the difference that you can have, and that's basically the bumper types you will find in general. So the one here behind me is the Hunter. So what this one has is, obviously it's got a notch as well, but it's got these hoops that protects the headlights. Now I would say that's particularly important if you drive at night and if there's a lot of game around. So if you hit something, it will protect your headlight. The thing just to consider with this bumper, it's the heaviest one. It's about 8 to 10 kgs heavier than the other variants, which I will show you as well. Okay, what we have here is the Savage bumper. Now, it's a bit of a unique one, whereas it's got a square notch, and then it's also a bumper that's limited to certain vehicles. Like this is the Ford Ranger Raptor. And then the other one that you will find it for is the BYD Shark. So it's a bit of a niche one, but I think it's nice to show. Whereas for me, what I can see, it's very basic, and what it effectively does, it gives a little bit of protection here in the front. So if you would hit an incline or something like that, or a sand dune, and it focuses a lot on improving the approach angle. This one here is a K9 bumper, so that's similar to the one that I would have on my Fortuner. So take in mind all of these that I've showed you, you get them for various models, various vehicles. They look a bit different, but the principle is what I want to focus on. So what you have here, there's a K9 bumper, but it doesn't have a notch. So this one comes, they've added additional spotlight brackets, so it's something you can do. But effectively, this is the basic K9 bumper that you can have. Like I said, it's available for a wide range of vehicles, but it just shows you the different options that you have and things that you need to consider, what you're going to use your vehicle for before you add a bumper or something, because each of these variants that I've shown you comes with have different weights. So effectively, you want to keep the weight of your vehicle as low as possible. For example, my Fortuner, I can only load 650 kgs in it, I think something like that. Now, if I put myself and 4 passengers in there, we're already almost 300 kgs down on weight. So weight is something you really need to keep in mind, but that's what's nice about these bumpers, is that you can actually keep it in mind and suit something that works for you. So without any weight on the front of the vehicle, we're sitting with a height of about 805 millimeters. So we will take this measurement after we've installed everything. So the first thing that goes on is the winch bracket and also the mounting bracket of the bumper itself. So what's nice here is that it allows you to install a winch. So if you do want to put in a winch in the future, you need to make sure that your bumper has got like a behind the winch bracket. This piece of rubber is very important because that's your aircon pipe. If you don't have that rubber there, this piece of metal can actually rub against your aircon pipe.
I've actually seen it now when we removed it. We could see it was touching there in a way. So just make sure that you have this rubber there. Part of the process is basically to put the winch on. What's nice is now that the bumper is not on yet, so the winch bracket is nicely and exposed. So you can do it with the bumper already on. It's just a bit more tricky then to get to all the bolts and so on, but this gives you a nice idea of the area of the winch takes in front of the intercooler. So you see you lose some space on the intercooler, but it's already bigger, so you should still have some nice airflow around it, and that's what's quite nice about this specific winch. It's not such a big winch, so it doesn't take up a lot of space, especially if you look at the power that you got. But I've got a full video of the winch and when we put it in first as well for you to have a look at. I'll put it in the description below. One thing that's important, and some dealers do skip this, or installers skip this step, is that there's a space in there where you basically need to drill a pilot hole. I'll do a close-up now, but that just fits the bumper in place. Otherwise the bumper is just fitted in slots. So should you bump it hard, it can still move in the slot, and that is the reason why you need to drill that pilot hole to basically to lock the bumper in place. So basically that's the pilot or the bolt that goes through that pilot hole that they've drilled, and that will now keep it, almost lock it in place, because like you can see here they have slots, and that helps that you can align the bumper nicely. But once you've done the alignment, you put that in, and that keeps the bumper nicely in place. So one thing you will see is that I went for a black bumper, so it's basically a powder coated one, and there's a good reason for it. So my reason behind it is that you probably put it on the front of your vehicle to protect the vehicle. Now, if you go for something that's color coded and it might look better, there's still the risk that you're going to scratch it easily if you drive through bushes or things like that. The powder coating is really, really strong. When I've had it in during my Namibia trip, where I was driving through a dust storm and the vehicle got sandblasted. You can actually see the sandblasting on the windscreen, and the bumper took it really, really well. There were some other parts where there was some paint exposed and the paint came off, but the powder coating held up really, really well. So my recommendation is to go for the powder coating, and I like the look as well. In terms of the design that I went for, is the design with basically they call it a notch. And the reason why I went for it is that I don't need that much protection around my headlights. I don't really drive around a lot in the evening, in areas where there's a lot of animals walking across the road. So for my purpose, it's perfect, because I do have the DAC spotlights that I put in there, the midnight vision. Or the midnight vision. So it's perfect that you can just fit your spotlights here, and then should you want to attach an aerial, there's some options that they're looking at. The one is that there's a space where you can put it in front of the bumper, or you can put it on the bonnet. I don't have a radio yet, but what I've done in the past when I've borrowed for radios, I just use a magnetic mount and put it on top of the bonnet. So yeah, that's just the reason why I went for this specific design. So just one thing to make sure as well is, if your bumper does come with recovery points, you need to make sure that they are rated recovery points. So these are rated recovery points. So it means that they are strong enough should you recover your vehicle from these points. There is factory points as well below, and I know a lot of people use those, but they are more tie down points. So yeah, there is a risk if you use them that you can they can come loose and that you can cause some damage. So yeah, better to use these points, and also you do have two of them, so it's a good idea just to spread the load over these 2 points.
But yeah, we'll be working on a recovery video soon, and that will come with a guide on how you can use your winch to get out of various situations. So this is the previous bumper I had on. I've replaced it with an identical one. And if you look at it, it held up really well. I think it was installed in 2021, and yeah, it really did a good job in protecting the vehicle. And I think I just went through this whole exercise because I wanted to show you guys the right way to fit specific these type of bumpers, and yeah, just to show you the different options that's available. So yeah, that's maybe just for some information, but you can see it's really held up well, and that proves my point with the powder coating as well. Now, one of the reasons why I did go with a Wildog bumper in 2021 is specifically because of the way it fits the vehicle. They call it like a bikini type of bumper, but what's nice about it, it doesn't stick out so far in front of the vehicle. And what I've experienced with mine in the past, it's strong enough. So it's not a case of, yeah, but maybe it's a bit more, it's maybe a bit stronger if it's larger and things like that. The problem with that is it adds weight to the front of your vehicle as well. So the more steel, the heavier it is. So yeah, and it's a case of what do you like, and I really like the design of the Wildog bumper. That's why I went for it in 2021 as well. I like the way it fits the lines of the vehicles. It's still a similar type of design. It doesn't protrude too much. And the thing is as well is that sometimes you do have limitations in terms of garage space, especially this is now fortunate, it's not that much of a problem. But if you start looking at something like a Hilux, when it protrudes, then you might find that your vehicle does not fit in your garage anymore. So just something to keep in mind as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's a lot of what you like as well. It's your vehicle. But yeah, I really like the look of this type of bumper, and it has served me well over let's say 5 years already. So yeah, that's why I went with the same thing again. After everything's been fitted, we're sitting in around 792, so it's dropped about 13 millimeters with the added weight. Now that's with a bumper, a winch, the bash plate, and everything there on the front. So that in a nutshell is front protection of your vehicle in terms of the bull bar. I'm happy with the product I've got on here. It has protected the vehicle very well. This is now the next model that I've got in here. I had it on previously. It's the same, but there's some small changes that they've made to it. This is now one piece of steel, where it used to be a separate part that you could bolt on there. Yeah, at the end of the day, I feel it made it a better product, and it's good. It was also quite interesting to talk to the people at Wildog and to realize that there's a bit more going into the design. They look at things like the airflow, they look at things of how strong it is, how it will do. For example, it needs to be airbag compatible, so it needs to crumble a bit. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's also just a piece of equipment that gives you peace of mind. You know, if there's something that's going to hit you, you will be protected. It's not going to end your trip. If an animal runs in front of your car, if there's plastic, then it's a bit more of a problem. It's going to look ugly and it's going to hang and things like that. Whereas with this, take that example at the Lion Safari Park, where I drove into a rock and I was just able to continue driving. So whereas if it was only plastic, that would have been the end of my day and probably a very expensive repairable. So yeah, at the end of the day, it is a bit of insurance that it gives you, and it also gives you a place like for the spotlights and where you can mount a winch. So yeah, again, it depends on what you want to do with it, what you want to do with your vehicle. But for me, it's a valuable upgrade. My stance is usually don't buy anything until you really need it. So I've driven the vehicle a while before I did put it on. I've driven vehicles before it that didn't have it on, but I think for me going forward, it's definitely one of those products that I will put on the vehicle if I ever change the vehicle. I think for most of the accessories that I've got on this vehicle, it's definitely products that I will fit again on another vehicle if I ever need to. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.